Hello, New Stoics. This is Tim, and this is Nightly Meditations. So, before we do anything, let's just make sure that everybody's kind of in a comfortable place and clear of mind, not too sleepy, not too hyper, just calm, and let's get into our day. So, overall, I have a feeling that there's some things that I could have done better in my job. Some things I should have taken care of, but didn't really have time to, and it was getting really late. But for some reason, those things bother me, even though it's not really a virtue thing. It's more of duty or things that you agree to. So if I say I'm going to do something, whether I'm getting paid for or not, it's important that I try and do it well. And that's one of the better ways to look at virtue, I think, is it's not something that you just kind of do when you can, or you do if you feel like it, or it's got to be something that you're conscious of, and not only that, but you make some sort of mental note to do. And the idea is for it to become more or less a habit. So even though it's doing my job is not in and of itself a virtuous thing, you could still be virtuous while working. There's the issue with duress, I guess you could say, that you only do a good job because you're paid to do a good job, which is true in some ways. But there's certainly a difference between somebody who does a job well because it's within their nature, and somebody who does a job because they're told to. But we could be making the analogy of the happy slave versus the the slave who works reluctantly. Though I don't really think working for a company really is a good analogy to slavery, but it's a good analogy to consider if we're thinking about work. So when I say virtue is something that we work towards, it's more or less a skill. It's not something, and I've said this several times, but it's not something that you're just born with. I think there are people who are apt to virtue, people who have very reserved nature, people who could pick up on helping people, usually very cheerful people, have no issue with helping people. But it's the idea to help people without expecting a reward, and to try and obtain a sense of happiness, not while you do it, but eventually once you keep doing it. So it's very important. We should also have the mindset of the cynics in this case, that sometimes doing the right thing is not societally valuable. Sometimes it's something that would make you very unpopular. Sometimes it will seem like the wrong thing to others, and so we need to keep that in mind, that we all should have a little bit of cynics in us, and that we should all remember that if we see something isn't right, or if we see somebody commit wrong, or if we see injustice, we should be courageous and make sure and call it out. And that should go even with our politicians, with business people, that we should be courageous and we should not hold back. So that's my message tonight, and I hope everybody's having a great night. Hopefully this isn't too late for anyone, but you could always listen to it in the morning. It's no issue. But that's tonight's nightly meditation, and